Hello there, and welcome back to War Thunder to the Twitch drop reward tank, the Pz.III J1 TD, and it has a very special skin. And in both gameplays that I want to show you today, hence the length of the video, there was a bug where it just didn't load. In fact, it loaded exactly every second game. Sorry about this. I'm at the end of the video, I'm showing off the camouflage, which I really like. So it is just a tech tree Pz.III J1 with a different skin in the premium / reward line of the tanks, but it doesn't have a premium status, so you do not get extra silver lines and or RP. But it's not really the point of the tank. It is just a collector's item, a little bit of a reward, and I thoroughly approve of this being handed out to so many players, because low tier is fun tier, point number one. Point number two, it didn't really cost Gaijin that much, but the profit that the Twitch streamers got from, all the people just being then or getting aware of them is an immense boost for their popularity and to increase their reach, basically. And that is just a big thumbs up. We had previously a Swedish tank, but sadly I didn't get this in the drops, so that's a bit of a shame, but I'm glad that I got this one. The Pz.III J1. Rank 2, battle rating 2.7, medium tank. Here you can see with the so-called Ostketten that were specifically designed for the Eastern Front to deal with all the mud, and it looks really aesthetic. And you might not know this if you are a recent subscriber, but I really love the original World War II tanks. I think this is what the maps really feel designed for. This is where the gameplay for me personally is satisfying, fun, where skill and positioning matters, and where you have guns that are in theory always capable of penetrating the armor according to the stat card, but you need to a little bit understand the game mechanics about them. And so let's quickly talk about the gun. That is the 50mm Kampfwagenkanone 39, the 50mm KWK 39. You have 84 rounds of ammunition, which is a huge amount of ammunition, and your reload is a rather quick 3.7 seconds for a fully trained ace crew. That is really cool about this quick reload, and you keep it for quite a while. But then there is also the gun handling. We have 10 degrees of gun depression, 20 degrees of gun elevation, and that is also pretty nice if you think about that you can get into many situations. Then we have 14 degrees of turret traverse, 14 degrees per second, and 4 degrees per second gun elevation. So it's nothing really outstanding, nothing bad, nothing overpowered, just right in the middle of the pack of what other nations' tanks and other German tanks can do as well. Now, let's talk about the ammunition here quickly. We have 4 different shell types, and from the get-go, you have everything basically that you need. You get the Panzergranate 39, which is an APC round, or your APHE round. We have 29 grams of TNT equivalent bursting charge. We have a really comfortable 835 meters per second muzzle velocity. And we have 106 millimeters of penetration at 10 meters distance. Versus 60 degrees angles of attack, it's really not that great with 36 millimeters. And at 500 meters, it falls off to 85 millimeters with against flat armor. But still, because of the relatively quick muzzle velocity, the high rate of fire, and the fact that we have a bursting charge, which a lot of low-tier British tanks really don't have, for just to put things into perspective, or some of the French low-tier tanks as well, you are a pretty decent sniper, up to 500 meters, especially if you catch enemy tanks from the side. And this tank is just fun. Then we have also the stock Sprenggranate 38 or high explosive shell, 550 meters per second, 170 grams of TNT equivalent bursting charge, giving 5 millimeters of penetration. That is not really that useful. In certain rather rare situations you might be able to use it versus some potato trucks, etc. Maybe versus the odd plane here and there. So this is why I always keep some shells with me. And then we have two different APCR shells. The Panzergranate Pz.III is an APCR round with a whopping 1,130 meters per second mass velocity and 130 millimeters of penetration. Against flat armor, this is pretty usable to go through, you know, the thicker Soviet steel if you get, especially in an up tier, or some of the odd French really thickly armored tanks. But versus angled armor with only 30 millimeters of penetration, it's even worse than the stat card says, because it really loves to bounce. So, then there is a second APCR round that you get as a tier 3 modification, that is the Panzergranate 40. That has 1,180 meters per second mass velocity, 137 millimeters of penetration, and 32 millimeters against 60 degrees angles of attack. So I think when you have the first APCR, that is all that you need. The post-penetration damage effect, if you penetrate the enemy, is far from what the Panzergranate 39 or the APC round does with its bursting charge if you hit the crew compartment. But it's still usable. It might be even better to use it at long range in terms of leading, but it also falls off pretty quickly. So whereas the Panzergranate 39, for example, has at 1,000 meters 68 millimeters of penetration, the Panzergranate has 62 millimeters of penetration at 1,000 meters. So I think the penetration advantage is only up to 500 meters. I'm just saying this because there might be some new players that just would really appreciate here to get informed about certain game mechanics. So your primary shell should be the Panzergranate 39, the Pz.III. Only for special cases. In certain situations, you might want to use the APCR rounds. It's a very niche usability versus flat armor that is thick, that you can't pen with the Panzergranate 39. And that's about it. Then we have the armor of the tank, and yeah, it is all flat, 50 millimeters, 53 on the lower glacis. The lower hull is a bit more angled. The turret is also 50 millimeters. There is some odd overlays and a big cupola that is then cast homogeneous armor, and the side is 30 millimeters. So yeah, it is a tank that can be a bit tanky versus especially SPA. When you angle it a little bit, but don't think that this will save you from Soviet APHE-BC rounds. They just magically pass through your armor anyway. It is a good old case of you have some armor, but don't rely on it. Just try to be the first one to get the shot off and to pen the enemy. But still, it has some armor, so as you can see, it helps here and there, and it is really cool and cinematic if you get shots like these. So I absolutely dig this tank. Then we come to the mobility with a top speed of 53 kilometers per hour and a reverse of at least 10 kilometers per hour, which is good enough, you know. We have no neutral steering with this tank, but you do not really need it. Positioning is a bit more important. Then we have 300 horsepower for a 21.8 ton tank, so the horsepower to ton ratio is below 15. But again, that's not really that bad, and especially in a straight line on a paved road, the tank is pretty quick and nimble. It's not overweight, it's just right, and there you can see 7 kills and quite a nice income. But again, it's not a premium tank. Now, the first battle was also stock, so I stock grinded this, and to be honest, in contrast to high tier tanks, you have here a tank that is ready for combat the minute you get it. So that is quite nice. And it just is also a very nice thing to have such a tank in your lineup. Now, let's talk about the lineup. It just shows the diversity of World War II, and this is something that I'm really digging. So you have the Tech-3 Panzer-III J1, you have the now Twitch drop reward tank, the Panzer-III J1 TD with the awesome skin that so far you haven't seen because of the bug, as I said. Then you have the normal Panzer-III J, you have the Sonderkraftfahrzeug 2.3/4, aka the Puma with the very similar 50mm gun. You have also, if you're a veteran player, the Panzer or the Pz./1C, you know, the mini baby tiger. You have also the Marder-III, which has a serious 76mm Pz.III cannon that takes no prisoners. You have also then the Sonderkraftfahrzeug 6/2, or if it's fully spoken out, 3,7 cm Flak 36er auf Selbstfallerfette Sonderkraftfahrzeug 6/2. Yes, a bit of German here, you know, aka the battle flag. And those tanks, again, to just talk about this here real quick, they are, the models are made with love. The models have a high degree of detail. The Ostketten really make this tank look aesthetically pleasing and just look very wide. It looks like a combat-proven tank to me. With a feel and a style to it that is superior to a lot of the high tier tanks. So low tier, again, is fun tier, not just for me but also for a lot of people that I talk to on my Discord, to which you will find the link in the video description down below, by the way. Anyway, so here we are on Stalingrad, very appropriate, huh? And yeah, cool map design here. And we just secured C, and now my plan is to push through, but not to immediately spawn camp, but to go around and attack the enemies from behind B, to allow my team to capture B, to then finally win the game, and as a little bit of byproduct, also get a nasty amount of kills. So here I'm really careful, because usually there are some sniper spots, there are some spots where enemy tanks can ambush you if they are really campy or they just saw you coming. So I'm just really careful. I saw on the minimap some things that heavy tank or whatever it is was taken out. I think to myself, okay, let's look to the left, nothing there. Let's look to the right, nothing there. And maybe you saw the few pixels behind the tree. Then I heard him shoot, and I quickly turn around, and he hasn't seen me, but he has given away his position with shooting, and we get another beautiful easy kill. So I love the feedback, the feel to those tanks, where it's about positioning, situation awareness, preparing your shot without a stabilizer, and the majority of your opponents have kind of the same level of abilities. There are distinct national flavors, which I really feel is great. I made a whole series of tank reviews a few years back, actually, about the 3.7 tanks, you know, the Shermans, the Panzer IV F2s, the Cromwell, etc. Feel free to look them up and to look at them, so you might understand that every nation has kind of its flavor. There are distinct differences, advantages to every tank. The T-34, the Panzer IV F2, the Shermans, the Cromwell, and from other nations that back in the days were not there. Well, I should also make some reviews there as well. Thank you for reminding me. So again, I'm in the middle of the enemy line, and I'm just really careful. And then, yeah, I probably would have hit him, but the shell was absorbed by the train here. Again, patience, positioning, situation awareness, and just taking it slowly. Because you die quickly enough, don't you? So again, it feels like the maps are really designed for the what feels natural to those World War II tank engagement ranges, where it's both fun and giving fair chances to everybody. You have those brawling positions, especially around the objective, but you also have some medium range sniping positions, I'd say. Yeah, that is the advantage of positioning and surprising the enemy. But I hear also a tank being somewhere there, and I'm not quite sure where he is. So let's turn around and try to dig him out. First of all, be always aware of what it is and if he's aware of you. So I think he's around the corner. Obviously here the gameplay sound is a bit more silent than when I actually play, so that you hear my commentary. Okay, that's a Swedish boy, and he bounced his shell. I have all the time in the world to then finish him off. Beautiful 6th kill. So at this moment my team is capturing also B and also decapping A. This is good. At this point I think we have to pressure the enemy, and I want to cut through their I'd say supply line from tanks to go back to the front line to threaten the caps. So people are pinging the map. That is why I'm looking here around. The minimap is one hell of a good tool for you to be aware. Where is your team? Where is your team pinging? Where enemy tanks might be? Where did your teammates just die, so that you can get an idea where they might have been gotten shot from, which objectives are open and contested. So you can very often not directly see the tank on the minimap, but you get an idea where they might be, together with, you know, listening to your surroundings. This might just give you an idea where you can go to expect to get some easy kills from distracted tanks. And this is the way to be successful in War Thunder. So it's not just kills, but also kill assists, and also especially capping. Capping is worth, in terms of civil line and RP, roughly 2 to 3 times the kill that you get from a single tank. So that is already kill number 9. And you could see I was not really shot so far, and that is also how you survive. Never really rely on your armor regardless of how good it is. And the double kill with the machine gun, just for the extra spiciness. So at this point we can fairly say that we have the advantage, the upper hand, and now it's completely okay to push the enemy spawn. But you can see I'm not really immediately going in, because yeah, there it is. I was not quite sure where he was coming from, and I had to take the risk. He tracked me, he didn't have the reload. Before the smoke cleared, I take him out for kill number 11, which is just beautiful. There's also a new mechanic where you in theory can attach the tow cable to an enemy tank. And just like the binoculars, this is something that you don't have to research. Use it. So to drag the wrecks around the battlefield, to clear passageways in narrow confined spaces like city fights, to maybe drag some armor with you. That is cool. I haven't really made use of that so far because the gameplay is still too fast, but you know, just to know that the mechanic is there. World War II tanks. In War Thunder you can learn a lot about the various different variations of the tanks and get an idea of what it actually means for the usability, at least in anti-tank warfare. A lot of tanks that you can see in War Thunder are correctly modeled and pretty good and close to historical accuracy. Oh, that was a nasty hit. So my gunner is taken out, my driver is taken out, the transmission is out. If he makes the second shot work, I'm dead. But he gets taken out by a teammate with a Pz.III TF. Oof, it would have been really nasty to die here, but you can see the repair time is close. Was it intelligent to push through here? Well, maybe that was the only mistake that I made here this gameplay. I also observed that there are some tanks behind me, and yeah, I drop an artillery strike. That's the only thing that I can do, and I try to point my gun in the direction. If somebody spawns here, because that is now the spawn area, there might also the possibility that he or she does still have spawn protection, so the shell would pass clean through them without doing any damage. So this is not the best spot to be disabled. But here we are, and now I just go immediately into cover. I want to survive the match and also maybe help out one of my teammates. But now, yeah, there he has been taken out, and thanks to the artillery strike, I got a kill assist because he was hit by artillery. And then we get the survivor and also the heavy metal hero. So that is always really nice and just boosts your silver line income as well. Hence, it is literally worth it to survive. 44,000 silver lines, alone 20,000 go to all the awards. Heavy Metal Hero and Survivor alone give 15,000 silver lines. 11 kills, 1 cap, 2 assists, first in the team. That was a nice battle, and I really had fun. So, something different, an old school tank, just with a new skin, and I highly would approve I highly approve this Twitch drop, and that is one thing that Gaijin clearly gets a big thumbs up from me. Although I didn't profit from it as a YouTuber, a lot of the streamers really profited, and for once War Thunder overtook a lot of the other very similar titles when it comes to tanks or ship titles from wargaming by quite a bit. So it didn't really cost Gaijin too much, so Gaijin, please more of that. And that's it for me today, so thanks for watching, thanks for listening, please give this video a like if it did, subscribe if you want to see more, and we'll see each other on the waves in the skies and on the battlefields of War Thunder.